All right, let's get right into it here. Market is up about 0.1% on the S&P. Looks like Nasdaq is green. Everything else is negative. Russell 2000 and retail did get hit today. Looks like Nvidia is still rocking there a little bit. Tesla, some of these guys are down. Some of the Bitcoin miner or crypto miners are up today. Gold, silver got hit today with a 3% negative. As you can see on the spider, 65-minute chart here. We've seen some shenanigans in the last week or so. As you can see, market tumbled down, and we talked about the fact that there was a down gap right here, and the down gap was not fully filled on the this was what this on yesterday's price. So yeah, yesterday what happened was in the morning, right? This is how it closed yesterday at close, or no, this is how it closed on Friday, right? This is where it closed on Friday. Monday morning we wake up, market was gapping up here. That's Monday morning, but keep in mind there was a gap. So if that gap held, it would have been an island up gap. This is why it would have been better if the bulls would have gapped it all the way, right, where the down gap started, which was 530. And because it gapped up underneath the gap, the entire gap fill area, this area acted as a resistance, and you can see we quickly saw that decline. That was Monday here, first hour, second hour, third hour. Thankfully, though, some of these moving averages, because what happened was on Fridays, at the end of the hour price action, it reclaimed all the moving average, midterm, short term, and the micro term. Perfect. So now that all those moving averages were reclaimed, perfect, and bulls are looking to see if some of those moving averages can at least slow things down, kind of use it as some sort of cushion as the bears are bringing this thing down, shooting the buyers. And finally, we did find support on that midterm, right, on the yesterday 4th hour. And then it also reclaimed the short term on the 5th hour yesterday. And then last hour yesterday, it also reclaimed the micro term. Perfect. So the way it closed yesterday, I think a lot of people, you see that candle right there, and then we reclaimed all the moving average, midterm, short term, and the micro term. I think a lot of people are expecting to see a gap up, or at least a follow through to the upside today. But what happened? We wake up this morning, market gaps down. At one point though, because I was watching early this morning, pre-market, market was down as much as here, but towards the opening hour, it kind of climbed back up. So what happened was it actually opened here. And good thing about that was on that first hour for the buyers, the good thing was for the buyers, because it would have been hectic if that down gap remained open. Remember, gap down this morning, there's still a down gap still remaining. If there's a secondary down gap, and if that down gap was not fully filled on the first hour, if that acted as a resistance, I don't think we would have seen a move like that today on the 5th and 6th hour. I think the path was created for the bulls to climb back up, because on that first hour, the down gap was filled, and the down gap got filled. Once the gap gets filled, you guys understand that it's going to act as resistance, instant resistance. That's what happened on the first hour. And the micro term was right there. So there was that tug of war, right? The down gap filled resistance, and the micro term trying to act as support here. And the second hour, we lost the micro term, as you can see right here. But third hour, you know, we're just right on that short term, you see, and then propped itself up one more time, and we reclaim the micro term once again on the 4th hour. You see that? And what happened on the 5th hour? Propped itself up one more time. Where did it go to? The gap resistance area, as you can see. But on the last hour, we saw another volatility where you see that lower wick. See that? This thing looked pretty bearish. In the intra-hour, it looked like that.
Huh?
But where did we find support? The micro term. We found support on the micro term, as you can see here. So there was a lot of battle going on in the last couple hours underneath this down gap when the down gap wasn't fully filled. Down gap wasn't fully filled. Boss bears are shooting down the bulls, and there's a battle going on with these moving averages trying to support the buyers. Buyers had to work extra hard today to keep these moving averages to support the bulls here.
Perfect.
And on top of that, we did see a little bit of whipsawing action on that oscillator, but it whipsawed back up, little head fake. It didn't roll over, but it gone back up here, so that oscillator is advancing, favoring the buyers going into tomorrow. Only problem is we've just entering into the overbought zone, not yet on the extreme overbought, but we're starting to, because bulls worked with that oversold here and all that bullish energy, right? All that, you see how bulls were able to utilize some of those moving averages, prop itself is continuing to kind of float higher. Though boss bears are shooting down the bulls as much as he can, right? Because that oscillator is really trying to support the bulls here as they break out of the oscillator resistance. We no longer have, ladies and gentlemen, lower highs and lower lows on that oscillator, and that happened here. So everything is set. Everything is set. And we bulls have one chance before that oscillator hits the extreme overbought, because when that thing hits the extreme overbought, well, bulls gonna have to rest. Bulls are going to have to rest. They're tired. They worked really, really hard to make this happen right on that long term. So now, the best case scenario, the most smooth transition to the upside would be gapping up above 530, and that's not a big gap up at all. That's not a big gap up at all. That's where we close here at 528.30. Your bulls only required to make 0.3% gap up. 0.3%. If we see 0.3% gap up, that will be the most smooth transition to the upside and attack the all-time high level at 533. The reason why I propose gapping up, because we've all learned today, if the gap doesn't get filled, or if gap gets filled, they're all gonna act as resistance. So even obviously filling this gap will be better for the bulls than leaving it behind, because if this gap doesn't get filled, ladies and gentlemen, boss bears are gonna start coming down pretty hard, and we start losing some of these moving averages. We're going back to the low, so bulls are not out of the woods yet.
Huh?
So gapping up will be the best case, but if bulls cannot do that, bulls need to go up and fill it and completely dismantle this down gap. And then I think at some point then it's going to act as resistance. Hopefully bulls can float around, you know, and we'll have to deal with it and where the oscillator is and everything else. So bulls have one more chance here. Bulls tried here to fill the gap, failed. Bull trying to fill the gap here on the last hour, failed. We have a one last chance. Tomorrow morning, how it plays out with this down gap, it's going to determine how things gonna play out this remainder of this week.